Some fair news brought to you by Maria, live from my closet. July 2nd, charges were announced against Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine Maxwell, not sure exactly how you say it, heard it every way, who acted as an accomplice in abusing young women with Jeffrey Epstein. Miss Maxwell, 58, has previously denied any involvement in or knowledge of Epstein's alleged sexual misconduct. Epstein died in prison on the 10th of August as he awaited, without the chance of bail, his trial on sex trafficking charges. He was arrested last year in New York following allegations that he was running a network of underage girls, sometimes as young as 14, for sex. His death was determined to be suicide. Maxwell is described as having built rapport with the girls, including taking them shopping or to the movies, and would later coax them into slowly being deceived. 5 of the 6 charges brought against her each carry a sentence of 5 years, with the 6th, transporting a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, punishable by up to 10 years in prison. 4 of the charges relate to the years 1994 to 97, when Miss Maxwell was, according to the indictment, among Epstein's closest associates and also in an intimate relationship with him. The other 2 charges are allegations of perjury in 2016. The general opinion is that to preserve justice, she will need to be monitored 24/7, because if her life is taken, whether by suicide or other, all guilty parties, which she could name, disappear with her. From the founder of Microsoft to the founder of LinkedIn to officials close to the Bush, Clinton, Obama, and Trump administration, a lot of people in very high places may have strong connections to this case. Most of the source for that was the BBC. On to the second story. In 2019, taking it back a year, New York Times Magazine published the 1619 Project, the brainchild of Nikole Hannah-Jones, a New York Times reporter, with the goal of re-examining the legacy of slavery in the United States, and timed for the 400th anniversary of the arrival of what she calls the first slave ship, bringing the first Africans to Jamestown Colony, Virginia. Now, historians from 12 leading universities, including Princeton, Brown, City University of New York, Texas State, Yale, have sent and other universities have sent a series of strongly worded letters to the Times explaining that America did in fact have a large abolitionist presence in the 1700s, and the one-sided view of history that Hannah-Jones was presenting is actually inaccurate. They took the biggest issue with Hannah-Jones's claim that the colonists went to war and started the Revolutionary War to fight to keep slavery, when there's actually no historical documents that present this or that prove this. So she unfortunately overlooked a lot of historical facts when creating her piece. A few examples of overlooked historical events leading to her thesis are the following. The 1600s was actually a time, especially around 1650, where there was more English people enslaved in Africa than Africans enslaved in America. Had no idea about that. Here's some others. When Hannah-Jones says that the drafters of the Declaration didn't believe in all men having inalienable rights, because obviously it didn't include black men, history actually shows that Adams, Franklin, and Sherman, 3/5 of the drafters of the drafters of the Declaration of Independence were actually abolitionists. Adams represented slaves suing for their freedom. Franklin was president of the Abolitionist Society. The Declaration did not seek to protect slavery, and the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War was actually perhaps the most integrated army in American history. I have to do more research on that one. U.S. Congress banned slavery at the signing of the Constitution in 1807, and 15 years after the Revolutionary War, 6 of the 13 original colonies had banned slavery, I believe. And let's see here, a couple of other facts. Most of the geographical U.S. never saw slavery, and 75 at the height of slavery in 1860. 75% of Americans did not own slaves. So those are some of the facts that I'm actually doing more research on just to confirm, but that seems to be some of the things that she overlooked when writing her piece. So apparently her piece is really noble, and that it sets out to teach Americans their history, especially Black history, and the truth about slave history. However, apparently there's just too much that went wrong in her piece when it comes to factual evidence. So I'll end this story with a quote from one of the historians that wrote to the Times, and there was a lot of letters back and forth between the Times and these historians from different universities. The historians apparently were mixed as far as being represented, right wing, left wing, black, white. So one of the famous historians, Gordon S. Wood, writes, "How could slavery be worth preserving for someone like John Adams, who hated slavery and owned no slaves? If anyone in the Continental Congress was responsible for the Declaration of Independence, it was Adams, and much of our countrymen that know that from seeing the film of the musical 1776. Ignoring his and other Northerners' roles in the decision for independence can only undermine the credibility of your project with the general public. Far from preserving slavery, the North saw the Revolution as an opportunity to abolish the institution. The first anti-slave movements in the history of the world, supported by whites as well as blacks, took place in the northern states in the years immediately following 1776. If you are willing to publish this letter, you may. Sincerely, Gordon S. Wood." And there's just actually so much information there that there's just a lot of information and research left to be done. Obviously not for the historians, they know their stuff. But for someone like me trying to catch up, there's a lot of reading that I have to do to catch up to understanding exactly where Miss Hannah Jones failed to tell the exact truth in her piece. Although her piece is lauded as being extremely noble, and most of the historians want her to succeed and to be able to teach it correctly, teach it accurately. So my last story today is that it's really hard to research coronavirus facts. Oh, by the way, my sources for the last piece were New York Times, The Atlantic, and Google in general. So you can probably find the historians' letters if you Google it. But anyways, my sources for the next story are extremely scattered. The CDC, New York Times. It's really hard to find coronavirus fair stories or statistics because it's just so politicized. So from what I understand about the coronavirus today, death rates are down. So that's the morbidity rates are down. We are less likely to die from coronavirus now than previously believed or than February or March. Point is, it's very politicized, but death rates are down. What is up is positive cases. Positive cases are skyrocketing while morbidity rates are down. One quote that I found is that morbidity rates are down 90% since April 21. What I still need to do more research on is to find out if that's collectively, nationally, which, yes, I believe it is. But are there any states where morbidity rates are up? It's just, it's complicated. So, again, morbidity is down. Death rates are down. Positive cases are skyrocketing. They're up. Hospitalization rates are somewhat what they were a year ago before COVID. So what that means is that if a hospital usually runs at 90-95% capacity, then they are probably still running at 90-95% capacity. So they are equivalent to where they were last year. If a hospital usually is empty, they're probably still empty. So from what I understand, hospitalization is about where it was last year. What I don't know is every particular state, every particular rural versus urban area. Obviously, different areas are going to have different situations and different outbursts of the coronavirus. But nationally, collectively speaking, those are the three things that I've been able to find. Morbidity is down, positive cases are up, and hospitalization is about the same. So that is your 10-minute. I'm hungry. That is your 10-minute fair news. Some fair news. I'll continue to try to research fair news so that you can get the facts when the mainstream media is pretty much just telling one or two things 24/7. I clearly just got sleepy and hungry. All right, I'm out.